Today, I would like to present our paper with the title Evaluative Language in Coverage of the Sixth State Election in a Malaysian Newspaper, Harian Metro. Let me give you a background to the study. The Sixth State Election, PRN6, is very significant for Malaysia because it is the acid test of the Perpaduan government led by the Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. He came into power on 26 November 2022, the fourth Prime Minister in just 2.5 years. For 2.5 years, Malaysia went through a lot of political changes. Actually, it was since 2018 when the Pakatan Harapan government defeated the Barisan Nasional Coalition, which had ruled Malaysia for 60 years. So Anwar Ibrahim comes with a special background because he was Deputy Prime Minister during that time, and now he comes in as the 10th Prime Minister of Malaysia. So let me talk about how newspaper articles are still important in elections nowadays. Even though social media has become very rampant and is influencing voter decisions, newspapers are still an avenue for political candidates to campaign and to make their views known. In the UK, Simpson and Startin study showed that the media tipped the Brexit referendum vote. So, through the newspaper articles, journalists use language to shape narratives and influence readers. Mainstream newspapers are known to be more objective, whereas alternative newspapers are known to be more subjective. And the research has shown that there are differences in how they carry the news. We look at mainstream newspaper. It is supposed to be objective, but we contend that it is possible to use language to inject interpersonal meanings. For example, in a study in Thailand, the newspapers reported the cancellation of the ASEAN summit, and they used words like Thaksin's puppets. This clearly shows disapproval. In Pakistan, the mainstream and alternative newspapers were different in using language which conveyed the attitudes, which is here negative about the Kashmir conflict and the role of the Prime Minister Imran Khan. In the context of Malaysia, in elections, in the 14th general election, New Straits Times and Malaysia Kini both used attitudinal resources, mainly judgment and appreciation, to portray Mahathir Mohamad as a prime minister who comes back the second time and determined to do his best. As for Anwar Ibrahim, researchers have already also analyzed newspaper articles about him and found that the Star uses effective resources to portray citizen satisfaction with him and to indicate positive valuation of his capacity to win over the audience. Now, how is he performing in this PRN6, the sixth state election? This is the purpose of our study, to examine the evaluative language in the coverage of the sixth state election in the Malayan newspaper Harian Metro. Our theoretical framework is Martin and White's appraisal theory. This is a linguistics resources framework that reviews how meaning is conveyed through language or evaluation. It uncovers how writers show their personal stance through the content. The appraisal theory consists of three main categories: attitude, that is the language used to convey subjective meanings; engagement, how writers position themselves in relation to the text content; and graduation, how meaning is intensified. And these are the details with more subcategories, which will be shown in the results. Method of study: we have 71 articles from Harian Metro from January the 1st to August 31st, 2023. And the search words were PRN6 Negeri and in English, sixth state election. Results: altogether, there were 1,409 instances of evaluative language use, the most being graduation, 61%, engagement 24%, attitude 15%. Graduation. This is the most used in Harian Metro's articles on the PRN6, and it reflects the intensity of the journalist's evaluative stance. It allows the articles to convey strong meaning and have more impact in creating news for the audience. Let me give you examples of the graduation language used. Intensity is mostly modified using numbers, number of voters, number of seats, etc. And also time. In the context of an election, the timeline is very important because the significance of events changes when new things happen. Graduation is also shown a little bit through mass or presence, like the example here. Therefore, the duty to vote is very significant. The forceful language shows the magnitude and impact of an issue. Next, the second appraisal category, engagement. How writers position themselves in relation to the content of their discourse. This is second most frequently used appraisal resources, and heteroglose is very common. Heteroglose means that other views are brought in, and this enables the newspaper to show that they are not just portraying the voice of one party, but of many parties. In a way, this comes across as a very reader-friendly article because it engages the reader. But if we look at it in another way, this is enabling the writer to detach themselves from the article by quoting other people. So it makes it an article that is reporting other people's views. Here are some examples of engagement language that is used in the Harian Metro. Mostly acknowledge, counter, and concur. Acknowledge means somebody said something. So quoting of sources, whether direct or indirect, serves as a tool to build trust with the readers by showing that the information is credible and there is no bias. It is not the writer's view. Counter means the writer shows the readers that there are contrasting views using connectors such as although and but. For example, in Penang, we will add more seats, although we did not manage to form a government, but we almost did. So words in the counter category refutes the earlier ideas, and this highlights tensions in the election. On the converse, we have concur. I agree with something. Concurring language indicates a conflict resolution and a harmonious election environment. Next, we come to the third part of appraisal language, attitude. Attitudes language conveys subjective meanings such as opinions, evaluations, and emotions of the writer. This is less common compared to graduation and engagement. Mostly, there is like 74% of the attitudes language is judgment. Affect is only moderate, and the least is appreciation. Judgment. What is happening here? Well, judgment language means there is a deliberate focus on evaluating specific qualities or behaviors of the politicians, their competence, their determination, ethical behavior. There is only moderate use of the affect subcategory. Emotional responses related to the security of getting the seat or safety during the election. Appreciation, explicit feelings towards candidates, not so common. Here are examples of attitudes language in the judgment subcategory. Judgment can go into capacity, positive and negative. It highlights the party's strength or the failure to secure victory, and also goes into normality. Example, they want leaders and reps who not only talk empty words. So positive normality voices the norm, the desire of Malaysians to have a good leader. We also have judgment in the tenacity subcategory, the determination. So UMNO also recorded poor performance when it failed to capture or retain any seats, blah blah blah. So the negative tenacity here highlights the failure to retain the constituency. And finally, under the judgment subcategory, we have propriety. Most importantly, all parties need to respect the law by not manipulating sensitive issues. So positive proprietary message means that politicians should avoid illegal activities and respect the law. Negative ones would be like talking about their squabbles within the party and also corruption. So this kind of language reminds readers of accountability of politicians and the impact it has on their image. So from judgment, we move to affect in the attitudes language. Affect, we have happiness, security, and satisfaction. First, happiness. Example, they are sad because many Malays do not want to participate in the election. So the word sad helps the public to understand the perspective of the political leaders. Security, slight advantage. These words acknowledge uneasy feelings towards the new candidate's popularity and the support of Malay voters for the incumbent candidate. Satisfaction, the response has been very positive. But on the contrary, if we have adjectives like anger, it conveys the voters' dissatisfaction with the current situation of having many changes. And the final example for attitudes language, appreciation, the subcategory of valuation. Example, Kelantan announces that it will provide free bus services for university students to return home and vote. So words like free shows thoughts and ideas that are worthwhile. Here, it brings down the financial obstacles. So these are the examples for the three categories of evaluative language. Now we come to discussion and conclusion. This study reviewed the interpersonal meaning seeping through the fact-focused election news. Harian Metro is a mainstream newspaper, so it is expected to fulfill two expectations. One, be neutral, and two, show a pro-government stance. So, did Harian Metro meet these expectations? Yes, when we use the appraisal theory, we found that there is neutrality that is conveyed in the news articles on the six-state election. And the main resource used is graduation, intensification of meaning, mostly using numbers. So when there are numbers, it construes facts and statistics, and it gives certainty about the information that is conveyed, and it appeals to the rational minds of the readers and allows them to scrutinize the information and evaluate it further. Next, we found a lot of quotation of data sources, and this actually reflects the engagement or the acknowledging of the reader's presence. And here, it offers to readers different viewpoints concerning a particular issue or event. In a certain way, Harian Metro is showing the readers that we report diverse views. And when we report diverse views, we are actually very engaging in that way. And therefore, it kind of reduced the mistrust towards the news reporting. But hidden in it, it is possible for the journalists to convey certain stance through the news by indirectly selecting the source for the information. Elsewhere, research has shown that left-wing alternative news media present more civil society actors, while the right-wing alternative news outlets will cite more right-wing politicians and parties. So quotation of data sources can be used for various purposes to convey the interpersonal meanings. And finally, we bear in mind that politics is a very sensitive topic in Malaysia, and therefore the Harian Metro news articles on PRN6 avoids attitudes and evaluations towards election events. This is a move to minimize unwarranted reader reactions and maintain objectivity in reporting. However, even though mainstream newspapers try to do this, there is a longitudinal study in Sweden that shows that trust in mainstream media is decreasing and people are turning to alternative news. Therefore, in light of this, further investigations of audience perspectives on fact-focused versus sensationalized reporting in Malaysia will produce insights on strategic use of linguistic resources for reader engagement and trust. Thank you.